Good tidings everyone, and thanks for clicking on the video. This is part 2 of me following the book You Can Draw in 30 Days by Mark Kistler. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll make sure to link it down below. I highly recommend it if you want to know how I got here. And to all the lovely people who came here after watching my previous video, thank you so much for continuing to watch my growth. It really means a lot. Without any further ado, let's check out Day 11. Advanced level cylinders. After day 10, I stopped drawing for a while because I started to feel overwhelmed with the next lesson. I still didn't quite feel confident in circles. Maybe confidence isn't the right word, but I just knew they could look better than what I was doing. I wanted them to be better. So I ended up with like 100 different circles just trying to get it right, and part of me was embarrassed to have all those failures up in the time lapse because I wanted my drawing to look cool and confident. Looking back at everything, I think I'm over my confidence problems and I'm ready to show you guys my struggles because after all, I'm still learning. Even if it takes me a lot of failed circles, the end product will be worth it. I'm still working on getting straight lines, but lucky for me, I have an undo button. I think because I took a break, I decided to attempt doing an overly blended shadow again, but just like before, I wasn't able to get the blending I wanted. However, I'm pretty proud of myself for drawing in all the shadows for each cylinder. Doing the shadows over and over again definitely helped my confidence with making shadows on cylinders, and even now, they don't seem as daunting as they did during day 10.
Stop!
I know the tops don't all look the same, but looking back, I really like it. This feels like something that would be an obstacle illusion or like a picture from where the sidewalk ends. If I had to make a change to this drawing, I would probably delete the 2 cylinders on the edge. They look kind of flat to me because I wasn't able to shade them and give them proper depth. Day 12, constructing with cubes. Overall, I had a good time with this lesson. I made sure to use any guidelines I knew would get erased on a separate layer, so I feel like the construction came out pretty cleanly. I like that, son.
Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
No, he's
Can I
sleeping.
pet that dog?
I might have made the cast shadow a bit too large, but we all know that's not where the details are in this drawing. I wasn't very confident when I was doing the shackles on the roof. I don't think I did too bad of a job based on what the book gave me, but I fear mine comes across more flat than it should have. I started making the shackles smaller because that's what the book told me to do. I get what the book was going for. It's trying to create depth and give off the illusion that the part of the roof with the smaller shackles is further away. However, I just feel like I failed to create that illusion. It could be me overthinking or being too hard on my work, so comment below if you agree or disagree with me. Pushing the bottom shackles down further would help the cast shadow I drew make sense. The door and the window once again look pretty clean to me. Also, in the book they have a guy waving from inside the house, but I didn't really feel like I could draw a person I'd be happy with. I also feared that it would make me think too much, so I decided to skip that step and leave the house empty. As you can see, I tried to add bushes, but I didn't exactly love them, so I got rid of them and kept the drawing simple. Day 13, advanced level houses. In the beginning, I was basically just doing the same drawing as before, but with an extra room. I was originally going to keep it pretty basic, just like I did with the previous day, but as I kept adding more details, I noticed how the drawing started to feel more and more alive. It felt almost magical. I'm glad I fixed my mistake with the bottom shackles from last time by pushing them down further so the future cast shadow will fit better. Once again, I'm not sure if I created good depth by making the shackles get smaller. Maybe add your thoughts to your previous comment if you have any advice. It took me a second to get into the flow of drawing the grass, but once I did, it was very fun. Hey, look, the bushes made it this time. The tree was pretty interesting to me as I was pretty much just trying to replicate what I was seeing in the book because there weren't many instructions on it. I'm surprised how hiding details in the sense of adding a chimney over the existing roof tiles can make a work feel more alive. Also, the smoke they did in the book was different, but I really like the way I ended up doing it. I think most, if not all, the details were done fairly well. It really helped to boost my confidence at the time as I was doing things I had never done before, but they all looked amazing. Day 14, the lilies. This was a simple drawing and I tried to keep it that way by not overcorrecting too much. I think I partly have the confidence boost from yesterday to thank for that. I had fun trying to figure out how to do the leaves, and in the end I did cop out by just duplicating the drawing, but to be fair, this book titles this lesson The Lily, not The Lilies. So I'm not sure if that really counts as cutting corners. Even so, I wanted to improve my shading, so I made sure to do that part twice. I really like this drawing. I think it's because it looks so much like a lily. I also used to have a lily flower toy when I played with Barbies. I looked online to see if I could show it to you guys, but apparently instead I just kept getting hits for a Barbie doll that was themed after a lily, which looks really lovely. However, you guys got to let me know if you end up finding the toy lily. It quite literally looked like my drawing, except there was no leaves, and it was also the size a Barbie doll could hold. I guess my drawing could be any size, but regardless, if you guys manage to actually find it, I might have to buy it. Please let there be someone out there who shared the same childhood as me so I sound just a little less crazy. Or that's what I would say if... Okay guys, I'm so sorry if I sound really different or if you can hear my PC in the background, but this is editing me. I had to let you guys know that I actually ended up tracking down where the lily is from. I don't have a good quality picture of it. I cannot find a good quality picture of it, but it was actually in this set. This 3-story tall Barbie set that I used to have as a kid, and I found it in one of the pictures because when I was editing this, I had a memory of it being inside this dream house, and I looked up the dream house and I found some pictures with the flower inside. I cannot find a good quality picture yet, but if I do, I'm gonna put it in right now. But I really quickly wanted to add that I did end up finding it, which is very exciting for me. I'm so excited. Now we will continue with the video and with my normal recording. All right, bye from editor me. Day 15, contour tube. I feel like I should apologize for this day. I had to return the book to the library, so I tried doubling up with the days, and thus I rushed through this drawing. I definitely learned my lesson because I ended up getting frustrated, and I felt like I didn't quite understand what the book was trying to teach me as well. You can see here I was frustrated that my line work wasn't consistent. It would start off lighter and then get darker. This is one of the times where technology can be a hindrance, as I'm not sure if it's because of a setting or because of me failing to give the pencil consistent pressure, since I know that is a thing that can happen. Either way, I eventually moved past it by doubling over the parts of lines I thought were too light. I definitely did not understand what the lines across the tube were supposed to represent, as the book example ended up looking strange to me. Looking back, it's not terrible. I can clearly see that it could be better, but it still looks like a tube to me. Halftime! For today's halftime show, I wanted to talk about a new rule I learned. Maybe rule isn't the right way to phrase it, but a new learning method I found. This is something that's new to me, but has been around for a while. I think it's important for me to share this in case someone else is watching my videos and trying to learn a skill. It's called the 50-50 rule. Basically, it translates to 50% learning and 50% having fun with the skill. I think this is mainly used for creative skills, but maybe you'll find use for this with non-creative skills. For every minute you spend going through a lesson/studying, you're supposed to spend an equal time doing the activity just for fun. I definitely wasn't doing this up until day 6. I was just drawing from the book and nothing else. I fear that this started to make drawing stressful, and at the same time, I wasn't taking proper breaks. Even when I wasn't drawing, I was still thinking about improving my art, sometimes leading me to crunch through lessons before I was properly ready, like I did with day 15. However, because of this new method, I find myself being more productive, well rested, and freshly motivated to work towards my goals. I will say I also added a daily tracker to keep track of everything, so it wasn't all inside my head stressing me out. Honestly, there are plenty of free apps/websites you can use to track your daily habits, and I recommend finding out which ones work best for you. I'm sure there are plenty of free videos or people talking about the apps/websites online if you want an overview before delving in by yourself. We are in an age with information at our fingertips. The only trouble is figuring out how to use it wisely, but the best place to start is by exploring. Day 16, the wave. A lot of this day was just me copying the book without fully understanding the lesson. Hopefully with the rule I explained in the halftime section and with me taking actual space between lessons, this won't be an issue in the future. I had a lot of fun creating the foam. I took inspiration from day 12's grass with the repeating pattern aspect. I'm still not quite understanding the lines. I understand their purpose, they just don't quite translate in my mind yet. This new way of shading was interesting. I don't think I executed it well, but I can see the vision. I know this day is supposed to go hand in hand with the previous day, but I had a much better time with this day. Maybe it's because I wasn't trying to crunch it all together with another day, but it felt a lot easier to understand, and yet I wrote I'm in tears, so maybe not. Day 17, Rippling Flag. I struggled so badly with drawing circles that were around the same size and position I wanted them. Eventually, after many failed attempts, I simply just focused on making one circle I was happy with and then duplicating it across the page. In order to combat what may be seen as cutting corners, I decided to use the circles as a sketch and outline the edges I wanted to be used for the flag. Next, I continued making the fabric of the flag. I couldn't quite get the curve at the bottom right, so I ended up tracing the top curve on a separate layer and then using the move tool to place it at the bottom. For all the shading, I pretty much followed exactly what I did for day 11, as these are basically just cylinders. For the inside curves of the flag, I used something similar to day 9's flag. Compared to day 9's flag, this one looks so formal? I can't really find another word to describe it, but I definitely see it as an improvement. Day 18, the scroll. You might be seeing a change in quality for this day as I raised the screen recording quality from 1080p good quality to 2K studio quality. Hopefully it's not too jarring. Just as a note, the rest of the series is already recorded in this quality, so let me know if I should mess with this or any other quality things like canvas and whatnot. I'm still learning and tinkering, so any advice is very helpful. It seems like once again I made a little cheat and just duplicated the cylinder. I did end up flipping it to try to match the other side, and in the end only the outer line and the circle made it to the final cut. I don't end up using the duplicate tool for anything else on this day though. I know the wrapped part of the scroll doesn't look the same on both sides, but I feel like that can also happen in real life, so I'm not that bugged by it. Once again, I just copied what I did for day 11 with the cylinders for the base of the scroll, but I thought it was interesting how the book had us add a bit of shading to the other side as well. I definitely think this was a good decision and offered more depth to the piece. I got reminded of the rows from day 9. Wait, 9 times 2 equals 18. Coincidence? I think not. Comparing the 2 days, I think the scroll definitely looks crisper, but that might just be the up in video quality. I think I also prefer the shading of day 18's as well. I like the cast shadow I did for this drawing. I don't think I necessarily pulled it off, but it feels like the most accurate cast shadow I've done so far. I think my shadow needs to be thinner, maybe also with a fuzzy edge or a tapered edge. I'm not too sure though. Comparing day 17 with day 18, I prefer day 18. If I had to guess, I'd say it's mostly because of the shading I did on day 18. Overall, I really like this drawing. I think it's pretty solid. Nothing crazy good, but nothing too off either, which I think is a great place to be when starting out. Day 19, Part 1, Pyramid. I think my line work wasn't too shabby, and I like how the outline came out. Now I know Now that I know about the move tool, I used that to push the pyramid down and make room for the horizon line. I did a light cast shadow before darkening it. I decided to taper off the cast shadow a bit, like how I felt like I should have done for the previous day, day 18. When I was looking at the back shadow, I started to fear that I made it too dark, but then I remembered you could adjust a layer's opacity. Lucky for me, the shadow was on its own layer, so I did that to make the shadow lighter. Day 19, Part 2, Pyramid with Arches. After drawing the first pyramid, I made a copy of the canvas in Procreate for this drawing. As it wasn't another day, I didn't really feel like it was cheating or anything, and in the book they don't really separate this day either, like they have done every other time I've done a part 2. I also think it's a good lesson to you guys to read ahead through a lesson or a guide before you start following it, because after reading through it I was able to prepare a copy.
See, I'm telling you, I have the mind of a I have the mind of a mastermind. What's that? I don't know, but I'm so creative like that.
I wasn't really happy with the arches I was making, but I couldn't visualize what I wanted, so instead I just kept editing it till it looked decent to me. When I finally was happy with an arch, I copied it over to the backside. I outlined where I wanted the cast shadow to go and gave it a nice fade, then I just copy and pasted it. I'm trying to use the fact that I'm drawing digitally more to my advantage instead of redrawing the same things over and over again. I'm still undecided if this is smart or lazy. On one hand, I'm learning how to use digital tools, but on the other hand, I feel like I might might be missing out on learning muscle memory. I'd love to hear it if you'd like to weigh in, so send a comment if you're able to. I'm pretty happy with the shading of the arch. I love the fade it does. I know that compared to the book, the shadow inside my pyramid is pretty light, but honestly, I really like it. It sort of feels like there could be another light source or an arch, but I'm really happy with the shading of it, so even though it might not look quote unquote right, it feels fine to me. Day 20, Part 1, Volcano Crater. The book labels this drawing as a volcano, but the instructions refer to it as a crater, so I decided to just label it as both. The book makes a note to keep using guide dots and mentions that even though the author, Mark Kistler, has 30 years of experience, he still uses the dots. But I'm going to be honest and say I stopped using the guide dots for drawing circles a while ago. They just don't quite work for me. Maybe it's because I don't have enough skill to direct the pencil where I want to go, but I hope the author doesn't mind me skipping this step as I'm unable to make much use out of it. I had a decent time shading. I feel like I could have taken the shadows out further, but I'll be honest and say I wasn't that confident with doing that on a bumpy surface. It was an interesting problem to solve, figuring out how to shade the bumps. I ended up making the backside of the bumps darker, and I made the shadow lighter as I went closer to the bottom of the page. I'll be honest and say this was another time where I was mostly doing monkey see monkey do and basically just copying the book. I also redid the sun a bunch. I'm honestly still not quite happy with it, but I think it's best to leave it there so I can move on to Day 20, Part 2, Cup of Coffee. This day took a while for me to finish. I was very frustrated with my attempts early on. I felt like they weren't good enough and that I should be making better work than what I was. This resulted in me starting over and over a few times. Then I took a break. I focused instead on editing the first video for this series, which is another skill I'm having to learn on top of my art skill. Then I drew for fun a lot. I followed some random tutorials, I got my confidence up. I came back and I realized part of my frustration was I wanted my coffee cup to be better than what was in the book, instead of just simply following the lesson. So I sat down, put on some music, and just followed the book. I didn't worry this time about making sure the top looked like a real life coffee mug. Instead, I focused on showing the same depth that the book did. The handle didn't need to be perfectly straight, it just needed to look like it belonged. The plate doesn't need to be centered, it just needs to look like it exists. Even without shading, it already looks pretty 3D to me. The shading was pretty fun this time around. I made sure to go darker this time, as I noticed a lot of things I disliked about my past drawings were the shading. I learned how objects on different levels create different cast shadows. I know it might seem obvious, but I didn't even think about how a cast shadow of a mug's handle would compare to the plate or the mug itself. I really like making seam like this. I almost wish I had pushed down the mug so I could have more room for the seam. I'm proud of this drawing not only because of how lovely it looks, but because I finished it. I think coming back to this and seeing this series through to the point of posting is worth being proud of. Even if it doesn't always look perfect, I'm still showing up and making progress, and that's definitely something to be proud of. Remember, if you're still on the path to your goal, then you should feel proud of yourself. If you haven't given up, it means you're still moving forward. I hope you've been enjoying the series so far, and I appreciate any help and support, even if it's as simple as clicking on the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I love you lots. Oh my god. I got so scared that I wasn't recording. I was oh my god. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I need to calm down. That was a legit fear, bro.